Katie Miller, and I'll be talking about Vanessa Lemon today. A little bit forewarning, I had my wisdom teeth removed yesterday, so I'm having a little bit of a hard time talking. I'm also pretty swollen, as you can see, so sorry about that. All right, so this piece that I have showcased on the cover is called Nectar Spirits. It's oil on panel from her collection in 2020 to 2022 called Liminal Beings. The works in this describe a conglomeration of emotions response due to COVID. And when it was difficult to process what was happening around the world, she kind of just put brushstrokes on paper and canvas to try to elicit those feelings about not knowing what was going on. So, Vanessa Lemon is an illustrator and painter from Carlsbad, California. She's an award-winning painter with work being shown in international galleries, collections published in art books, as well as just literary book, special edition collections of literary books and magazines. She describes her creative process as a safe space to wander, a companion in solitude, and it's where she can be vulnerable, find herself through deeper connection and communication. She is grateful when a broadening and a reverberation is felt and shared as well when people look at her pieces, which I feel that too. Her pieces are pretty captivating. On the right, we have a self-portrait called Self-Titled with Mask, but it's better known by herself and her peers as a self-portrait, a finished work in progress. The work is oil on canvas using a thick over thin method, which took around 2 years. Not necessarily because thick over thin method, sorry, is difficult, but due to the frustration she faced depicting herself in a true manner due to loss of confidence in her work. This was pretty early in her career, starting in like 2005, and she finished this painting in 2007. Um, Over the years, she reworked the hands numerous times. She started with them being really intertwined in nervousness and then went on to become holding paintbrushes, which she felt was pretty contrived and didn't really have any meaning behind it other than just showcasing herself as a painter. And in her last rendering, she holds a mask. And ironically, when she first posted the picture on her website, she had it cut off at the torso, sorry, so that you couldn't see the bottom half of the portrait of her holding the mask, only years later revealing the mask and therefore showcasing her true self in the process. A lot of her early work has this like harsh lighting and simple background, and a lot of them are portraits of her friends, clowns and jesters, and a little bit of like harlequins. But in the next slide, we can kind of see her work shift. This was in 2015. I want to showcase these works because I feel like this is a noticeable shift in her work prior to the prior decade, where her works have this like dreamlike mystical quality about them. And that's kind of where we see her move from there on. She likes to describe her works as a contemplative pause and intrigue and taking a longer and deeper look. Each of her subjects acting as a spirit guide that help each viewer reflect inward and outward with compassion from a new perspective to create greater sense of unity with others and our surroundings. In her artist statement, she claims that her paintings are layered in subtle allegory, with an explorative process that intertwines expressive marks, brushworks, with areas rendered tangible forms. The works involve form like dance movement, as she makes emotive marks directly onto the surface with no predicted outcomes. I really like the pieces on the left that look like they're part of her sketchbook. She really works with these female figures a lot, and we can kind of see where she gets that mystical quality that kind of almost has like an ominous feel about them. And that's how a lot of her work like moves throughout. You can kind of see that she uses a lot of faces and she puts a lot of faces within the faces. That's something that we'll see a lot in her works moving forward. And it just adds this like mystical and like eerie quality that a lot of her work has. All right. In 2018, she completed 8 new paintings for a limited illustration edition of The Left Hand of Darkness, which is a science fiction novel published in 1969 that explores gender and politics and human connection. Um, I think these works are super beautiful, and considering that the book, I haven't read it, but I did a little research on it, takes place on this like otherworldly planet. I think that her works really express that. We can see the exploration of gender in that second piece in the middle where we can kind of see that person split off. And they're really captivating. And honestly, when looking at them, it kind of made me want to read the book. So that might be something that I pick up. So these are some works for IX Arts. She combines her love of nature and reflects her personal journey to create reflection and introspection in her works. I think these particular pieces kind of showcase that idea of spirit guides. The subject matter between these two are very similar. Both female presenting figures looking right at the viewer with abject straight hat shapes around them. We'll just say that. However, the expressions convey similar, but they have completely different sentiments between the two. The flow of the colors and shapes kind of depict that. The one on the left comes off kind of confrontational with the bold brushstrokes around her, similar to fire, especially around her brows, and the abstract regions kind of around her neck that seem like dragon-like textures. The right figure seems to be waiting for something, almost trying to lead us to her. The colors feel more curious with the picture on the left, or I mean, with the right, sorry. And while the shapes around her are sharper than the one on the left, she feels more regal than imposing by the crown kind of hood thing that's going on with those abstractions. And of course, the one on the left is going to be called the Dragon Whisperer, which we don't really need title to know and feel that, but I feel like that hits the nail right on the head. And the one on the right is called The Voyager. In the same series, she has these two called The Golden Sea of Echoes, which is going to be on your left, and then the Cocoon, which is on your right. And I feel like she has this like really perfect play of creating these like mystical, calming pieces that also kind of give you like this nag of like anxiety inside. With the Golden Sea of Echoes, it kind of made me feel like how it feels to not only be a person, but an artist, kind of getting those echoes around you, telling you what you should do, telling you what you shouldn't do. And I think that her using this like metaphor of the sea and the golden sea of echoes kind of perfectly exemplifies like this figure in the middle is like the main figure. And then all of these echoes around that person, kind of like are different, maybe feelings she feels about herself or how others feel about her. And then we see the one on the right, which is in this like metal working cocoon, and you have those nature elements around her and like spirit guide elements with the moon being that. And then you can kind of feel like this level of calmness but anxiety about these like metal workings kind of pushing that figure into that cocoon. All right. And then I want to showcase these two because she has a lot of works where she works really deeply in warm tones and really deeply in cool tones. She does have a couple pieces that she'll use like silvery tones to like create this like metal work, but I feel like her most prominently known and most captivating works are the ones that she deals with dark cool tones and dark warm tones. So I just want to showcase these two. The one on the right is a cover art for the artist gift edition of A Scanner Darkly, which is a little artist magazine, I believe. And then we have these three, which I think perfectly exemplify the like spirit guides and the allegories that she's trying to create. We have on the left the keeper of the sentient landscape, the rune writer in the middle, and the acquisition of the sun. I think all three of these are extremely captivating, and you kind of want to know more about these figures and what they're going through, but you see these abstractions around them, and they almost kind of feel like they're generated in this like otherworldly like to me when I look at these it almost makes me feel like of Guardians of the Galaxy 2 when you're on the main character's dad's planet and we were looking at them and they kind of feel like they're alien-esque but you're like you know they come from nature and you just kind of want to know more about these figures and what they're doing. And lastly, I have these two really warm tone pieces that I was talking about. I think both these are really captivating because they both create these like figures that feel like they're tortured and you want to kind of know more about their story. But you also know that you in yourself can feel what they're going through. And um, I think that's something that Vanessa Lemon really touches upon. She touches upon these like emotions that we have inside of us, but kind of exploring them in like either a super dramatic nature or creating these figures that you just kind of want to know more about. and doing that in a really beautiful way of using these brush strokes to kind of create these like dance-like movements. Yeah, but those are my sources, and I hope you enjoyed her painting.